going on, man? I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the Mind Muscle Mastery podcast, man. This is actually one of our first podcasts. So we actually want to thank everybody, man, for being a part of something, man, that we are definitely proud to be doing. You got a lot of podcasts out there. Shout out to all of them, man. You know what I mean? But this podcast specifically, man, it's about a few things. And first and foremost, it's about the state of health. My name is Coach Bay. I am a certified personal trainer as well as a exercise recovery specialist, a nutritionist, as well as a supplement specialist. Outside of fitness, outside of just dealing with the body, I am a life coach. All those things together allow me to be a fitness professional and bring the lessons that I bring to you. And this is how the Mind Muscle Mastery podcast formed. Obviously, the state of the Black community and the health is worrisome. It's concerning. It should be concerning to everyone listening. It should be concerning to anyone that's not listening. It's definitely concerning to me. It's concerning to those who are suffering from things like diabetes, hypertension, just things that disproportionately affect the Black community. Obesity, that's one thing that is crazy, run rapid in the Black community, in our community. And one of the crazy parts about obesity is the effect that it has on the young. And that's crazy. We're crazy about our kids. At least we ought to be. We ought to be. I really hope you're crazy about your kid and your kid's health. And, just a few things about that. I mean, some of the disparities, I'm talking about disparities, some of the things that other communities are privy to, other communities are getting that we are not getting, right? So when we talk about those disparities in dealing with Black child health, it's heavily driven by systematic socioeconomic inequalities and unequal access to quality, culturally competent care, right? So in other words, so many times in the hood, we don't have access to some of the things that they have access to in other communities, in rural communities. I mean, let's just be real about it. We go to hospitals a lot of times. We have a longer wait. We deal with doctors who so many times seem like they don't want to deal with us, and even behind the scenes, when they seem like they want to deal with us, the processes are slow, and we're not having equal access to some of the things that are out there, man, that could help us. Is one of the big things for me is the access to the education as far as before the precursors or when the precursors are showing themselves. You should know that being fit, being active in your life, and when I talk about active, being fit, I'm talking about as far as health, aerobics, and exercise is concerned. It is recommended by the federal government as far as aerobics is concerned that you do something 3 times a week, at least for an hour, right? Of mid to extreme exercise for at least an hour, 3 times a week. Me, I'm in the gym 4 to 5 times a week. If I'm in the gym, you could also catch me in the park. I did a 2-mile 500 the other day that we recorded. A 2-mile 500, that's a 2-mile walk with 500 push-ups included. Right? So I was in the park then. If I'm in the office, that's what King and Queen Fitness Virtual is about. That company behind me on the other side, King Queen Fitness Virtual, allows you to cancel all the excuses, right? Allows you to get fit, allows you to get active and be active wherever you are, in the front room of your home, in the garage, in the park, wherever you are, right? So today's podcast, man, we're going to address some key health indicators and disparities as far as Black kids are concerned, and we're going to address the current state of physical activity in the Black community as far as the adults are concerned, and what we could do, what we could accomplish if we were more active. We're going to address those things as far as health is concerned, and then we're going to turn to some things that are taking place out in society. We address, we don't, one thing this podcast, man, this podcast is your outlet. It's where a real person comes to, man, to hear real educated opinions, man, real educated things, research based. As again, as you can see, the International Sports Association behind me, that is who certifies me on all those certifications that I mentioned, as well as other certifications that I hold as well. So, we're here to teach, man. We're here to teach health, getting fit, losing weight, but we're also here to teach getting away from fear and doubt as far as in our lives and what we can accomplish. And the energy that is negative energy, what we do with it, how we alter it, how we turn it into positive energy. It's about it's about becoming a master. Becoming a master is one who really is in control of himself. I'm working out. I'm doing that. My body is strong, right? I'm working out in the right way. My body is strong. Okay, so I'm putting the right things in my head. I'm reading the right material. I'm checking out Coach Bay. You know, whatever your religious preference, whatever your spiritual preference. You're doing the things that are necessary, working, all these things, all the things in your life that are stressors, these are things that we're addressing. These are things that we're addressing to get these things out of our lives, out of our circle of influence, to deal with them, not put them off. We're not put them off. We're not talking about putting anything off. On the Mind Muscle Mastery podcast, we go through the steps to become a master, right? We deal with situations in our lives. We put them in proper perspective. We put them in the circle of influence that they belong in, or we remove them from a circle of influence, right? We remove things that are naughty, gainless, unuseful parts of the workshop of the mind, right? Where you meet Coach Bay at is in the workshop of the mind, right? That's where I'll take you, right? And at the end, if you're willing to take those steps and stand on those principles that you've established for yourself, you know, if you're willing to draw a circle around your passions and keep them in the bounds of moderation, if you're willing to do these things, man, if you're willing to go the extra mile, then we talk about mastery in the end. But in dealing with those things, we're going to deal with things that come across you every day in your life because these are things that affect you. I see them, you see them, right? So we'll deal with the politics, we'll deal with the president, we'll deal with what's going on. Full disclosure: I am a registered Republican. I am not a 100% Trump hater. I don't. If the man goes and saves a puppy, I'm not going to, say that he's a piece of shit for it. You know what I mean? As some would. But I will tell you this: I don't approve of most of the things that comes out of his mouth. I don't approve of 90% of his acts. Let's just put that out there. Full disclosure. So you know, again, back to the state of Black health, man. That's my thing, man. That's my baby. It should be your baby because in a time as trying as the time is right now, you never know what you're gonna have to do. You, your queen, your kids, you're gonna have to protect, man. A man's job is to protect. A man's job is to provide, and that's what you should be doing. And you may have to protect in even more extreme situations. I talk to the educated as well as the uneducated. The educated know exactly what I'm talking about. Look around you. The uneducated, let me tell you, you know, I'll tell you like this: always be prepared, man, to protect your house and the people in it, man. And if you are walking around, man, unhealthy, man, you pollute the body, man, and we'll talk about that. We'll tell you what I am for and am not. But you pollute the body with certain things, you pollute the mind with certain things, man, and sometimes in an effort to distract from the things that are going on, the things that you hear, the things that you're dealing with in life. Now we'll address that as well. We'll address that as well because it happens, right? It happens in life, man. We deal with things, and that's just it, man. In life, we're going to deal with them here. Yeah, we're not going to run from anything, man. We're going to deal with everything. So, in becoming a master, man, let me tell you first of all, nothing's easy about it. Uh, but yeah, in the show going on, man, today we're going to address health as we've addressed it so far. And then we're going to address the UFC's incident that happened last night. The individual who was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and shout out to Joe Rogan, who decided to make a derogatory statement about the Queen Michelle Obama, a well-respected man, Black queen, man. And, you know, I don't have anything negative to say about her, man. If I had any quarrels, man, as in politics, it would be with her husband. She wasn't the president. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's unnecessary. These are some of the things that I think the current president, I think 47, man, has to grow up and get his arms around, man. I love the dude, man, because God tells me, to love everybody, man. I love the dude, man. I was a big fan of him back in the day, man, the Don, when he was in business. I wish he had stayed there. You know, do I care now to know, hey, now you're getting to see the real him? I don't give a damn. I'd rather he stayed where he was. You know what I mean? He wasn't really that big of an issue, wasn't that big of a figure, So, that's just where it is, man. And excuse me a second as I put these boxes back where they need to be. But yeah, that's just what it is, man. That's just what it is. So yeah, I wanted to get the logo out there, man. As I said, this is our first podcast, and obviously, you see, I'm working the computer, man. I'm doing what's got to be done to get this information to you. And I don't have a problem with it, man. It's actually, in my opinion, a man's job, a king's duty to, once man, to educate those around point blank, period. Now I'm talking to everybody in the community, in the hood and everything else. Yeah, in the hood and everything else. So that's what's going on, man. So we'll take a break, man. We'll take a short 30-second break, man. We'll take a short 30-second break, and then we'll be back. We'll talk about this whole thing, man, with Michelle Obama and this fool at this UFC 250. We'll be back, man, in a minute. All right, man. So we're back live, man. We're on air for sure. You see the light behind me, man. It's no joker, man. And it's no joker in what's going on in society and what's going on out there in politics, man. In a community near you, groceries are still high, man. Things are still going on that, just it's not benefiting. It's not benefiting the working man. It's not benefiting me and you. A lot of craziness, man. But last night if you didn't hear about it, at the UFC 100 or the UFC 250. It's a big thing, man. Yesterday was Donald Trump's birthday, man. They had a big thing going on with UFC. UFC says they spent about $60 million to get the whole thing done, the whole UFC thing done. And so I mean, it went all right. I suspect. I mean, it's a lot of criticism because normally UFC has women on their lineup who will battle, man. And last night that wasn't the case. A lot of people are saying, man, it seemed like just a backyard brawl, man. And for those, they try to say, man, that UFC is predominantly a white thing. I don't know, man. I know that it's become multiracial, man. A lot of people aren't involved. I know it is to me, in my opinion, it is a savage sport. You can quote me on that, but it is a sport nonetheless. You know what I mean? Like boxing and anything else, kickboxing amongst the rest of those things. So, shout out to the UFC, man. Shout out to the UFC for doing what they do, man, and becoming so big. Shout out to Dana White, man, for doing his thing, man. Shout out, and you don't know who that is, man. It's the UFC president. Shout out to Dana, man, for doing his thing. And shout out to Dana for the strong statement. Shout out to Dana for the strong statement, man, that he made last night, man. This thing with Michelle Obama. man, the artist, I'm not even gonna give his name no energy. The man that was competing, I mean, he was, a fool, as everybody say, man. He got up there. They say he was drunk even when he came to weigh in. Man. Now, you know, what type of fool is that? He was drunk when he came to weigh in, right? So that means you souping yourself up, in my opinion, to fight, right? You get drunk to fight. That means you can't fight, ain't it? You need some liquid courage to fight. So anyway, man, the man decides to make a statement, man, about Michelle Obama, man, when he grabs the microphone from Joe Rogan, man, calling Michelle Obama. He asked the crowd, was Michelle Obama, man? The crowd react, Trump reacts, you know. Old racist trope, man. That's an old racist thing, man. You know what I mean? And again, shout out to Dana White, man, for shooting that down, man, for not giving that no energy, man, and the UFC not giving that no energy. That's silly kid shit. That's kid shit. But we know that unfortunately that the president that we deal with today is so often on petty kid shit. So, that's just to be expected, man, in an environment where he is being celebrated, right? Because we have so many men that want to be in his graces, man. But my thing is, what I don't understand is what y'all don't understand, is what those around him don't understand. I mean, my thing is this: look at his past. Look at the last administration of his, right? And look what happened to all the cast members of the show, right? Because we know he likes to put on a show, right? A selfish show because it's about him really when it's all said and done. The gain, whether he figures that's mentally beneficial, money, whatever it is, that gain is first and foremost for him. Those in his last episode, in his last administration, all of them went to prison. Hello? All of them went to prison. So if you're not understanding, man, that this dude here, man, this selfish dude here, man, is gonna railroad you. He ain't gonna do nothing but railroad you, man, and then throw you under the bus as he did. I'm not being opinionated at this time. I'm just telling you the facts of what happened to the last people he dealt with. But it is what it is. So, back to us, man. Back to us. And when I talk about us, man, I do first and foremost talk about the Black community. But when I talk about after that, I'm talking about, you know, my Black son and his white friends and his Hispanic friends, because, you know, charity starts at home before it's spread abroad. But once it started at home, then you do spread it abroad. So let's understand that the Black nation is not and has never been selfish. The Black nation has not and has never been selfish, man. It has always been about love for ourselves, sometimes love for others before ourselves, man. It has always been about family and about strength. When I talk about the Black nation, let's be clear that I'm no racist or anything of that nature. I love my white brother. You know what I mean? I've dated outside my race, all of those things. But understand this, that hate is hate, racism is racism. You understand? And I've been some places in some dismal crypts that other people haven't, and I've probably got a strange friend list, right? I've got the strangest friend list that you've ever seen, right? As a Black man, having gone through things in his past, right? And now mentoring you from where I've been, I've got Aryan Nation Brotherhood friends. I've got Count friends. I've got Klan friends. I'm talking about when I was young, I was privileged, man, to meet people, experience these type of things and grow up, experience them, grow out of them, and for God to give me a mic to speak about them, So again, I speak to everybody, man, but when I talk about the Black nation, man, I'm talking about my son. He passes those things on to his white friends, because I don't have any problem with, first and foremost, dealing with my nation, because my nation is in trouble. Health trouble, mental trouble, the young generation, man, that's out there. I'm talking about in the city that I come from, Kansas City, man. It's wild. It's like the wild, wild west, but they say it is what it is, but really it is what it shouldn't be, right? Anybody in a community has to right to have their children come outside, them come outside, walk to their car, man, drive down the street without being shot in the face, their children being harmed, If you live in a community like that, you can tell them Coach Bay said that you're not a resident in that community, you're a hostage. It's just that simple. I said it. Coach Bay said that. If you're in a community like that, you're not a resident, you're a hostage. So, the state of physical activity in the Black community, right? We're gonna weigh in on that, man, real quick. Let's talk about it, right? Physical inactivity, right, weighs heavily on Black community health outcomes. Okay, physical inactivity weighs heavily on Black community health outcomes, right? And that's modern data from 2024 to 2026. Coach Bray's always going to bring you what's up to date, what's new, what's going on, right? I'm out here studying. I keep my eyes open for us, because, me as a former religious head, me, knowing what I know at a point in time, man, I wasn't going to bring you a live podcast, because just think, look at the fool. I mean, I'm sorry. Look at the man that you once used to have your kids respect, the man that when he spoke on live TV and the news carried it all over the world, you got quiet, the man who your son or daughter used to want to be like, you know, because that man, is off the chain today, man, and because that man has things like the Supreme Court all the way down the line, and as the episodes go on, we'll talk about some of the connections he's made behind the scenes that allow some of the things that he's doing that are either illegal or against the Constitution to take place. But with that being said, you know, my nation, the Black nation as well as the white nation, man, I condone, you know, Black pride, white pride, have pride in who you are, have pride in your people, educate your people, you know, teach your people to be strong, teach them to be ready, right? So when we talk about this modern data from 2024, 2026, it shows Black Americans experience disproportionately higher obesity rates, and excuse the veneer, right? Shout out to Drip Water down there, man. Shout out to David Jordan down there in Kansas City, man. This water, man, the brother's got his own water. And I'm talking about coming to America, man. He's got his own money. The brother's got his own water. And it is refreshing, man. That's coming from a certified coach. It is refreshing, man. I stay with it. Shout out to Drip down there in Kansas City. So Black Americans experience disproportionately higher obesity rates, lower physical activity rates, and shorter life expectancy. And this is that in that order, as we like to say, in that order, right? Understand disproportionately higher obesity rates, right? Tied with that, and because of that, so often is lower activity rates. Then what that leads to, what that equals out to, is shorter life expectancy. Now we're talking about the shorter life expectancy that is caused by being unhealthy. We'll talk about the shorter life expectancy on another episode of just being stupid. Of not honoring your father and mother, not doing what you're supposed to do, being stupid, wanting to be something that you're not. We'll address that in another episode. But right now we're talking about the causes of a shorter life expectancy and obesity being inactivity, right? So we need to get active to stay alive. So often, man, before I was a coach back in the day, man, when I was, I don't know, I'd probably say stupid to a large degree because I knew better, right? Because I knew better. I was taught better. Shout out to my mom in heaven, shout out to my dad. I knew better. So I was being stupid, right? You know, I would see people jogging and all that type of thing, and a part of me like be like, wow, that's not even for me, man. That's just growing up in the hood. It's just the stupidness or the stupidness that is also coupled with lack of knowledge that we are subject to in the hood, especially in my age growing up today. Hope it's getting a little bit better. I see Maha, which is Make America Healthy Again. No shout out to Kennedy, but shout out to Maha. for doing away, man, with all the sugars, man. The sugars are a killer, right? The sugars are a killer. When I talk about sugars, I'm talking about sucrose. I'm talking about real sugar, right? You know, real sugar, man, too much sugar, too much starch, too much cholesterol, you know, too much foods that are wrapped up in plastic and the name, yeah. But too much stuff that you buy out the store in plastics, man. Learn to get your own vegetables. Learn to go to a deli, man, and get fresh meat because so many times when we buy these packaged foods, man, they come with chemicals, man, and things of that nature that so often cause disease, right? And this is why so many times, man, we are addressing disease and things of that nature as we mature in health because we're eating things that we should not be eating, right? Everything should be in the bounds of moderation. And when we're talking about our kids, that should be the most important, right? So we're experiencing disproportionate high obesity rates, lower physical activity, and shorter life. This lesson explores what happens when the community is not active and what could be gained if movement became a cultural norm. What could be gained if everybody, just got with it, right? If everybody started being active, everybody started doing something from moderate to high intensity activity 3 times a week for 1 hour. That's what's federally regulated. That's what I teach. You can go on King Queen Fitness Virtual. You can go to the gym. You can go wherever. If you don't like the gym, King Queen Fitness Virtual allows you to get busy wherever you are. You don't like the smell in the gym. You see this thing over here? We advertise them all the time. Grab one, put it on your face, boom, there it is. There it is. So, I mean, we got to get right, man, and we'll get more in depth with this lesson right here. I won't drag it too far out, but I do want to I do want you all to understand, man, that whether you're white, black, Hispanic, inactivity is a killer. Right? Stress is a killer, and we'll get into how to deal with stress, how to deal with fear, how to deal with doubt, right? I've been there and done it. We'll talk about these things, right? So the numbers tell a painful story, but also point toward a stronger future if we decide to get active. If we decide to get active, if you're just tuning in, man, I'm talking about the Black community and the state of health in the Black community amongst adults and amongst children. And I'm talking about reasons that we need to be strong and healthy. Look on the news, look around you, man. Be able to protect yourself, be able to protect your family. It's just that simple. You know, that was just a that was just a quick dive in, man. We're gonna go deeper, you know what I mean? Right now, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about Carmelo Anthony. That's the case down in Texas, man, at the track meet. Two young men, man, get into an altercation. It gets ugly, man, and I sure hate it. But 30 seconds, man, we'll talk about it. Yeah, man, we are back. We are back, man. This is Mind Muscle Mastery Podcast. I am Coach Bay. We are back, man. And if you're just tuning in, man, we started out the show, man, talking about the state of the Black community as far as health is concerned with adults and children, man. We've talked a little bit about some of the things that have gone on. We talked about the UFC fight. Again, shout out to Dana White, man, for correcting that, man, for standing on something down there at the UFC. When that idiot decided to grab the mic from Joe Rogan and make the derogatory statement about Michelle Obama. You know, uncalled for, man, stupidity, old racist trope, man, but that's where we are today, man. Again, what I tell you from Coach Bay, man, be able to protect your family, be able to protect yourself. What I tell you is to be conscious, man. They call it woke, you know. One thing about it, the opposite of woke is sleep, So if just put this in context, man. I gotta go here real quick, right? So if I'm stealing planes, if I'm stealing money, if I'm doing crypto deals behind your back, if I'm selling you meme coins that ain't worth a damn dime, if I'm doing watches and Bibles, if I'm selling planes and jets, all behind your back, you're damn right I want you to be asleep. I would definitely pose a war on being woke. I'm telling you, I would listen. Hitler made a statement, man. He made a statement to the effect of the I think they said the best lie is the one that they believe, or something that. Listen, man. If I wanted to do all these things, man, and I wanted you to not pay attention to me, to not complain, not do what the Dems are doing, trying to stop him, what the Republicans obviously are scared to do, are y'all getting paid too? I'm just asking questions. I mean, one thing about this podcast, man, you're gonna get it real, you're gonna get it unfiltered, no fear. I don't, listen, former religious head, this is full disclosure, right? So I'm talking about, all of my religious sectors out there. You got the Catholics as well as the Christians involved in that administration that is nothing but, well, anyway. So, Carmelo Anthony, man, track meet, man, down there in Texas. Let me get the paperwork out. Texas track meet. There's a situation with the two young men. There was a pass. There had been some bullying, from what I understand. On this particular sad occasion, Carmelo enters the rival tent. It's raining outside. The kids, they rush over, from what I understand, the Austin, and we'll say his name, man, because we don't get off into that foolishness, bro. This is about real shit, and what you're gonna get here is real, educated, grown men, grown women shit. We don't just hate on everybody because they blue, hate on somebody because they Republican, hate on somebody. I don't give a damn what your religious thing is or your political thing is, as long as you real with yourself. You can't lie to me. When you fail to discover yourself, man, others see you most plainly. When you fail to see yourself, man, others discover you most plainly. Come on, man. I'm gonna take you there though. We're gonna talk about the workshop of the mind, but right now, we're gonna say Austin Metcalf's name because he is dead today, man, and that is a damn shame. We also gonna say Carmelo Anthony's name, man, because, you know, this is just a stupid situation to me, bro. It's a sad situation, you know. All this bullying, man, for one, that is just crazy, man. If your child is dealing with a bully, man, and you don't know what to do, call Coach Bay, man. You can add Coach Bay at any time, man. Call Coach Bay. Follow us across all the platforms, social media, King Queen Fitness Virtual, all the podcasts. If your kid is dealing with a bully, man, you know what I mean? Tell that child, man, that you're gonna have to face that bully. You know what I mean? Now, of course, you should be able to go to the school, man. First and foremost, let me back up some. You know what I mean? If you are that parent, man, you damn sure should have the right and the ability to go to the school staff and deal with that without your child ever having to lay a hand on a bully or ever having a bully lay a hand on them. Right? I am fully for the school taking care of these situations, but I'm also from the old school. And I'm gonna tell you a lesson that still applies today. Sometimes, man, you got to go up and confront that bully. You got to take that black eye and try your best to get that bully that busted mouth. But once that bully got that busted mouth and you got that black eye, the bully gonna understand one thing. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing about a bully. 99.8% of bullies are soft, right? They bullying people because they believe they can, right? They got some things missing in their own character and their own makeup, right? So they fill those empty slots in them by bullying other people, right? They make themselves feel whole by bullying you, right? So you got to you got to say, man, fuck that. I mean, excuse me, you got to say, forget that, and take that black eye, try to get that bully a busted lip, scratched face, whatever you give him, some sore nuts, whatever you get a bully, let the bully, the message is this, let the bully know that you're going to fight, you're going to protect yourself. I guarantee you, man, 9 times out of 10, the next time the bully comes, he's going to find somebody else to bully. So that's just That's 9 times out of 10. You keep coming to Coach Bay and asking me, don't just take that and run it for 10 times. I said 9 times out of 10. Now, the 10th time, the bully might come back and whoop your ass. So 9 times out of 10. Anything else, you want to contact Coach Bay. So, Austin, man, so Camelo's under the tent. Austin rushes up on him, from what I understand, man. Melo is sitting down. They run up on him, trying to bully him some more. Everybody in the tent's telling him to leave, man. Melo, obviously, they put their hands on him. They bullying him, or at least the Austin kid put his hands on him, man, and the stabbing commences. It's a sad thing, man, because first and foremost, man, these are two kids, man. This is a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old boy. I don't give a damn what color either of them are, right? We're talking about two losses, man, in a family, in two families, two losses of their child, because one is dead and one's going to prison for 35 years, and the appeal is going to be hard, man. The appeal is gonna be hard. Let's just be real, man. It's down there in Texas, man, and they don't do a lot as far as appealing, man. They're not an easy town, and especially, I just tell you, right now you got Abbott running that deal down there, man. Texas is, it can be hard, man, on a brother. It can be hard down there, and I'm just telling you the truth, man. You know what I mean? Now, in this particular situation, Coach Bay did not say that anybody was right or wrong. I just said that it can be hard on a brother in Texas. Now, if you ain't real enough to admit that, then you probably one of them people that say America ain't suffering from racism no more. And Coach Bay, if you that person, we can debate about it. One thing about Charlie Kirk that I like, he was about his business of debate. He knew he had his facts down. Now, if you had your facts down better and your points were stronger, then you win the debate. But we ain't gonna kill each other. We're gonna sit down and learn from each other. Again, like I tell you, I've got friends of all backgrounds, Aryans to Panthers, right? One thing we have in common is respect. That we are grown men, right? And we have principles established for our lives, and we've established those principles, and we respect each other and the principles that each one of us have, and that's what that is about. That's what that is about. So if you don't like something, man, okay, you don't like it. That don't make it 100% real or not. You know what I mean? So anyway, man. So you got the kid gets stabbed, man. And for me, I ain't even gonna go all the way into it. If the appeal happens, the appeal happens. But thing about it is this, man. We got to learn to think before we act, bro. It's just that simple. I don't care who we do. I don't now. When we're talking about when we have a weapon and we're talking about in our minds, we're smart. We know that a weapon can harm somebody more than somebody punching you in your face. This could take a person's life. So how I move with that weapon, man, has to match how educated I am. It has to match how mature I am. How I move when I got this weapon on me, right? Because I'm accountable, right? I'm going to be held accountable for what I do with this weapon that's on me, right? Now, am I saying he was wrong for having a weapon? I don't know. You be the judge. They say he was wrong for the weapon was wrong being on school grounds. Now, I don't veer from off policy and procedure. If that was the policy, he was wrong for having it on school grounds. If that wasn't the policy, then fuck you. I got protection with me because I get bullied. And that's what it was. So, I hate that Austin Metcalf's dad and parents hadn't taught him that as far as bullying is concerned, as far as race is concerned. They say race wasn't in it. Well, even the bullying part. What type of upbringing, what type of teaching are you getting where you're going around school with your friends bullying people? What are you missing in your life? What love is your parents not giving you? What attention is your mama not giving you? Now, I said this is rough and raw on this podcast, from health to realness to politics and all the way across the board. We got a lot of people talking out there. We got Austin's father that has chosen to get on different podcasts and be disrespectful. Now, earlier in the situation, I gave him a pass with some of the things that he said. Listen, man, you don't want to keep saying those things, and I'll leave it there. So, you know, uh, so, we got a black kid, man, that's in prison, man. We got a little white kid that's dead, man. I'm sad for both families, man. But understand, and my producer just hit my ear. We're not making any threats. I'm just telling you that's not that's not how you want history, to view you in this situation. I understand grief. I counsel people on it all the time. I've gone through it myself. But to come out and be derogatory, be disrespectful to a race of people is a whole nother thing, right? So now, if these people on this podcast encouraged you to do that, then you're weak for doing it, right? If they paid you, then I don't know what to tell you, bro. But I will tell you this, you know, to bring a nation of people into your issue. And I tell you, Coach Bay, you can come on my show anytime. You can come on my podcast. We will talk about this. We've said Austin's name. I don't believe Austin should be stabbed. I don't believe Camelo should have had the knife on him. I don't believe Camelo should have been under the tent. I believe if you walked under the tent and they asked you to leave, you should have left. But if you knew Austin was under the damn tent, what is you under the tent for anyway? We got issues. I don't give a damn if somebody told you to come over here, sit down. It ain't raining under here. It's snowing. They giving out tennis shoes. I don't give a damn. Use your head. Now I'm talking to all young black men across the nation that's a part of this black nation, from the police to the military. Use your head, man. I don't. We're in a time, man, where it's definitely time to relook at your principles. Now, I'm no haste, no haste. Let's be patient and watch. But Coach Bay just, he lights those fires just to let you know, man, to be ready for the point that, again, we just have to be, man, totally wise, educated, man, and protect ourselves, and may have to protect our family. So, with that situation, that's just really where I leave it, man. If the pills comes out, the pill comes out, we'll deal with that. The pill's already in. We'll deal with that. My message is really to Jeff Metcalf, man. I feel you, man. I heard with you, man. I don't believe that anything should have happened to your boy, man. But at the same time, you know, leave the black nation out of this, brother. You want to talk to individuals that's saying something, to you from the black nation, then address them. But the black nation is huge. So don't address us all. You know what I mean? Some of us, man, are in the middle, man. We loved your boy just like we love Camelo. We don't think it should have happened to your boy. We think it was the wrong thing that happened. We don't think the man should have had a knife or none of those things. But at the same time, your boy shouldn't have been your boy. We don't bully people, man. When you bully people, man, bad things happen. Let's just keep it 100. Let's just keep it real. That's how we gonna do it. And that's a shout out, man, to Jeff Metcalf, man. You want to come on my Muscle Mastery podcast, man? You can at me, man. Dom at King Queen Fitness. Dom at KingQueenFit.com. That's the new email. Dom at KingQueenFit.com or King Queen Fitness 7 at gmail.com. So yeah, that's the situation, man. There, man, it's a sad situation. We got a young black man, 19 years old, doing 35 years in prison, and a 17-year-old white man dead over boogie. So hopefully, man, we learn a lesson from that, man. That nobody wins in those situations, man. We got two people, man, whose families are going to suffer, man, and that's a sad thing, man. Before we close this thing out, man, again, I want to thank everybody, man, for coming on, man. I want to thank, everybody for being a part and a portion. We'll always address health first and foremost, man, and then we'll dive into the issues. Shout out to Casey, man. Shout out to those who know my Muscle Mastery podcast, man. Shout out to those who deal with 100 Kings. Shout out to those, man, members of King Queen Fitness Virtual. Shout out to all those who follow the pages, man. Follow us across every social media platform. King Queen Fitness Virtual. You can go on KingQueenFit.com and then check us out for real. Shout out to Drip, man. Shout out to Drip. So, yeah, before we go, man, real quick, man, and we'll pick it back up. Another thing out today is this Iran deal. You got 47, man, the Don, man, that's what I call him, man. The Don, because that's how he moved. That's what he still think he is. some type of mobster or something. You know, the Don man has signed a whatever, man, or something with Iran. You know, they profess for it to be an agreement. They want it to be an agreement, but they really want you to be convinced. So and for the markets to be convinced, so oil prices can remain coming down, so prices can stay down. You know, so much negative talk about Obama in the JCOA, the last agreement that he made, the JPCOA. Believe it is the last agreement that he made with Iran, talking about the money transfer and all of those things. Well, guess what? 47 to Don, there will be $3 billion given to Iran, man. You know, there will be sanctions lifted off Iran, man. Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz open. You know, that's been a huge thing of contention because so many people travel through the Strait of Hormuz, so much energy in the form of oil, but then also food, grain, things of that nature travel through that port, through the Strait of Hormuz. You know, so if you're not following, it was causing a big deal. That's why gas prices were up. Now they're coming down. You know, I give 47, you know, this credit. You know, you've played repeating the same thing over and over again. We got a deal, we got a deal, we got a deal for like 5, 6, 7 weeks. And it's kept the markets in place for much. So, you know, he's gaming. He's a gamer, man. He's a gamesman, he's a gamer, he's a con man. You know, always has been. I'm just being real with you. You know, I'm being real with you, man. And I'm not one of them individuals that just hate the man for what he's done. Y'all, America, the principles and pillars y'all had in place, let him do what he did. So don't get mad at us. You know, don't get mad at the black community who thinks the guys that you know, I hear this all the time. The black guys like Trump because, you know, they go through all this stuff and they try. Listen, we go through stuff because of people like Trump in the US, okay? You know, listen, the type of things that we go through, man, the disproportionate lack of education, lack of resources, things of that nature. We're not talking about child molesting and Epstein, that type of shit. You know, come on, man. You know, we that ain't, you know, again, I come from a time, man, where when the president spoke, when the president was talked about, when he came on TV, man, you got quiet and you respected that, and your parents made you do that. Today, when the president comes on TV, I tell my son to turn the channel. And that's just being real with you. I don't hate the man. I love the man. I just hate what he stands for. You know, and I hate that we're all in this boat, you know, this U.S. boat together. You know, you're driving it, but we're in it. Please don't crash us the fuck out. You know, so Coach Bay, man, thank y'all for being a part of the show today, man. We'll be back, of course, man. Episodes 3 times a week. We're doing episodes 3 times a week, man. If you want more, hit us, man. Let us know. But again, man, that's for all y'all, man. Next time, man, we'll get back into health, man. We'll get back into what's taking place. Until then, man, protect your family, man. Protect your children. Don't be no damn fool and pay attention to what's going on around you. Coach Bay, man.